It's just me. Just me to tell the story. Kids, if you want to come up, do we have some kids today who want to come forward? I would love to see your faces. Hi there, I'm Christina. So we're going to be talking about different kinds of rest today. And so I like to take some of my lessons about how to live well from Mother Nature and some of our animal companions and some of the plants that we see around us who teach us about ways to be in our world. And so I was thinking about ways that some animals rest during this season that we're in right now. Does anybody know what season we're in? Any of the kids? What season is this? I heard somebody say it. Starts with a W, right? Winter, that's right. That's why it's still snowing, because it's actually still winter, even though we all are excited about spring. And I know there are some animals that rest during winter, right? What's that called when animals rest during winter? That's right. It's called hibernation. Thank you. You're all nodding. You all know that one, right? What kind of animal? Does somebody else want to tell me? Do you know of an animal that hibernates? Bears. That's what I thought of too. Yeah. Bears go into a cave sometimes, or sometimes they just lay down and rest for the whole winter. Wouldn't that be nice? While it's dark and cold. Yeah. I kind of wish I could do that sometimes. Do you? When it's cold outside? Yeah, want to stay in your bed? I see some of the adults are nodding. So another animal that I thought about when I was thinking about animal teachers are the wild geese. And we have a lot of wild geese here in Western New York, don't we? Have you seen the wild geese flying up in the sky? Yeah? What shape do they fly in? Do you know? That's right. They fly in a V like this. So there's one goose in front, and then there's other geese that are behind, right? And they do that so that they can rest from the wind. So, yeah. Migration, that's what that's called. That's right. They migrate during the different seasons, and then they come back here when it's warm, right? You all are a very smart group here. You don't need me to teach you all this stuff. But the lead goose is the one that has the most wind, right? And is blocking the wind for the other geese behind them. And they get kind of tired in front, right? Because they have to fly right into the wind. And so what we've learned is that the geese, when they get tired, the leader drops back to the back of the V and flies in the back. And then another goose will fly up, not step up, but fly up to take their place so that that first leader can rest. So they take turns and they help each other out. And that's something that we can learn how to do too, right? So I'm going to read you a story. This is called 3 Sabbaths. And a Sabbath is a way of resting. It's a religious practice of resting every 7 days, like taking one day out of the week to rest and to rejuvenate and recuperate from your work. So I want you to listen for 2 things. I want you to listen to how the people are kind of like the geese. They're helping each other out, okay? Helping each other rest. And then I want you to listen for the different words for rest that different people have, okay? Will you listen for those things? Okay. So this is 3 Sabbaths. In a small village lived 3 farmers, all friends, who farmed and lived on pieces of land that were right next to each other. Their farms were right there next to each other. And one neighbor was named Ali, and he identified as a Muslim. Another each week, Ali rested on Fridays for his Sabbath or Jum'ah, and he did no field work as his religion said that he should. Now, another neighbor was named Rebecca, and she and her family were Jewish, and they practiced their rest day on Saturday each week, according to Jewish law. And the other neighbor was named Luca, and they identified as Christian. And Luca took their Sabbath on Sunday, which was following the Christian tradition. So we had one on Friday, one on Saturday, and one on Sunday. Now, one autumn Friday, around noon, Rebecca and Luca finished plowing their fields, and they sat eating their lunch. And Luca noticed that Ali's field had not yet been plowed. Oh, if Ali doesn't finish plowing today, it may rain tomorrow, and he won't be able to complete his planting for the season. I could plow a little bit of his field and make my friend's work a little bit easier. And so Luca did that. They plowed a little bit of Ali's field. Now, on the other side of the field, Rebecca was noticing the same thing. And she said, I'm going to plow a little bit of the field for him so that he doesn't miss the plowing time. Now, together, the two farmers met in the middle and completed Ali's plowing. The next day, when Ali discovered that his field had been plowed, he rejoiced, saying, surely Allah has sent his angels to plow my field while I observed his day of rest. Now, several months later, when the harvest season arrived, the fields of the three friends were flourishing. They were growing all kinds of beautiful plants. And one Sunday, Rebecca and Ali were each harvesting their crops, while Luca was celebrating their Sabbath. As she completed harvesting her corn, Rebecca noticed that Luca's nearby field was also ready to harvest, and it was time to get that corn. If they don't harvest today, she thought, they could lose a part of their crop. I'm going to pick that corn just until it gets dark. Now, completely unknown to her, her friend and neighbor Ali had come to the same conclusion over on the other side of the cornfield. So between them, they harvested their friend's entire field. They worked until the sun went down, and they sang a little song as they went, each in their own way, to their own tune, to keep themselves company. And each song had words that went like this: soon the sun will set, soon it will be time to rest. Thank you for this day that God has made, and thank you for the nighttime too. Now on Monday, when the sun rose and Luca's Sabbath had ended, they went out to their fields to work. And what did they see? The entire corn harvest had been brought in, had been picked and brought in. It's a miracle, they thought. God has sent their angels to harvest while I rested on the Sabbath day. God is good. Now it was threshing season a little bit later. Now this is when the wheat and the other grains are gathered up and they're separated from the plants that they grow on. So the grains can all be ground up into flour and made into all kinds of good things. Do you like to eat bread and cookies and cakes? That's what we make out of wheat, right? So Ali and Luca were working very hard on a Saturday, and Rebecca was at home with her family because she was keeping Shabbat as a holy day when no work is done. Now Ali finished up his wheat, and he looked over into the next field and he thought, oh, if my friend Rebecca does not gather and thresh her grain today, then the rain might wash it all away and she'll lose the whole crop. And so I will thresh part of her crop this afternoon since I've finished my crop early. And so he did. Now, unknown to him, his friend Luca, over on the other side, did the same thing. And together they finished and threshing and binding and covering Rebekah's entire crop. Well, when Rebekah's Shabbat was over, she discovered that wonder of wonder, her entire wheat crop had been threshed. Lifting her eyes to the heavens, she prayed, "Blessed are you, Elohim, creator of heaven and earth, for sending your angels while my children were keeping Shabbat." And so these three friends, they did each other's work while each other rested. Wasn't that great that they were able to give that gift of rest to each other? Now, do you remember the names of the resting days that the people took? Do you remember any of those words? Yeah. Sunday, that's right. Sunday is the Christian Sabbath. That's right. Friday is the Muslim, in most places, the Muslim Sabbath, which is also known as Jum'ah. Yes, and in some places they rest on Monday. That's right. That's right. And on Saturdays, the Shabbat, the Jewish people rest. Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Monday, we can all take different rest days, can't we? That's right. And we can help each other out. So I hope you'll help each other out. And I hope you'll remember this lesson when you go to your classes. And I think it's time now for you to go to your class. Yay! Thank you for listening and for helping me with the story. Thank you. We'll see you. Have fun. So wonderful to hear the voices and the wisdom of the children. I hope they have a wonderful time in their class. Well, I did not plan for this service to happen on the day when we spring forward in daylight savings, but it's wonderful sometimes how the universe helps us out with our messages, right? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little cranky and a little like, oh, I lost an hour of sleep last night. So I am primed for this topic of rest and repose, and maybe you are feeling that way too. And I think I just want to name how it's interesting that, you know, we can declare it a totally different time and make us all move our clocks forward, but we can't seem to find a way to make a society that is more equitable and allows our bodies to rest and to get what we need and to flourish. So we can serve the needs of industry, and we can serve the needs of these giant corporations that need us to work harder and spend more, but we can't find ways to honor our own bodies. So that's kind of what I'll be talking about today. I just want to take a quick informal poll. How many people hate daylight savings time? Yeah, me too, me too. So maybe we can work on that someday. So we're going to be talking about rest and the importance of rest, collectively and personally. And this is a huge problem in our society, right? Ariana Huffington wrote a book a few years ago about how sleep deprived we are as a society and the dangers of being sleep deprived and the ways that it is detrimental to our health. But I'm going to open up the idea of rest even beyond the idea of sleep, because there are many, many different types of rest, and I'll talk about that a little more as I go on. But I'm going to be centering today the work of Tricia Hersey, whose words I read as opening words. Tricia Hersey is, she calls herself the nap bishop, and she has a nonprofit and an organization that is called the NAP Ministry. And you can look it up like on Facebook, or, I'm sure they have a website as well. And she also wrote a book called Rest as Resistance. And she is a theologian, a poet. She is a Black activist who resides in Atlanta and mostly works out of Atlanta, but hosts events all over the country, and whose work has really profoundly shifted my thinking about rest. Because I come from the same productivity and grind culture that, that most of us were raised in, right? And I just want to name that many of us come from ancestors with an agricultural background, and that's kind of the original grind culture, right? There's always something that needs to be done. There's always something, like the people in the story that we heard this morning. There's always more work to be done. And so we come kind of preloaded with that anxiety about getting the work done, getting the stuff into the barn. And for people who come from a marginalized background, particularly people whose ancestors were enslaved in this country, those folks come from a legacy of actually having their bodies, used as machinery and not respected, and their time stolen from them. So this is something that is a legacy, this legacy of inequality, of some people, sitting around and sewing samplers and inventing pastimes because they didn't have enough to fill up their days, and then other people being asked to work themselves basically to death for others' profit. So we come from this legacy. This is not a new problem. And this is not a new situation of inequality, but our capitalist system has kind of exacerbated all of that, right? And many more of us are caught up now in this machinery of capitalism, and this system that wants to use our productivity for its own gain. So I grew up in that same system, right? I grew up with a mother who rarely sat down. And I remember my childhood rest being stolen from me because I would be sitting or lying in my bed on a Saturday and thinking about, just sort of dozing, and dreaming about what I might do or not do that day. And my mother would come into the room and snap the lights on and open up the blinds and say, with her hands on her hips, "What do you plan to accomplish today?" And that was the end of my repose. That was the end of my peaceful Saturday. And I could still remember the feeling of having her come in my room and just take away my peaceful Saturday. But I learned how to be an incredibly productive person. And just until a few months ago, I was really on that treadmill as well. And Tricia Hersey has really helped me to shift my thinking about that. So I want to read to you some of her. She has this beautiful, as well as her book, Rest is Resistance, she has this beautiful deck of cards called the Rest Deck. And it's 50 inspiring messages for us. And each one has an embodied practice on the back. And so I want to just introduce this by reading a few of these beautiful cards. First one says, "I am not a machine. I am a divine being. I can rest." So Tricia really centers her wisdom in the wisdom of the body and in a vision of the body as a divine part of ourselves that deserves our care and our attention. Not a machine for us to get things done with. Here's another one. I am not lazy. I am not lazy if I rest. I will stop worrying about productivity. And one of her messages that's very strong is that we don't rest so that we can be more productive. We rest because it's our right to do so. We rest so that we can thrive and we can flourish and we can be healthy and we can give our bodies what they need. So as I said, she centers her wisdom in the body. My body is my teacher, she says. We listen to our bodies, and when they need rest, we try to make a space for rest. Exhaustion does not honor the sacred, right? We're not being asked to exhaust ourselves. We will imagine what our bodies need, and we will daydream for freedom. We will daydream for freedom. So Tricia tells the story, particularly she names some of the folks that have inspired her throughout history, including her own ancestors, and also folks that we may be more familiar with, we might say our historical ancestors, such as Harriet Tubman, who refused to be used as a machine, and then who, when she ran away, she talked about how she trusted herself as a child of the earth. She trusted the earth to hold her. She trusted the stars to guide her. She trusted the living beings around her when she was in the woods. And then when she got away, when she made a space for herself to get free, she then turned around and helped others to get free. And this is the collective vision of the NAP ministry. It's not just about bubble baths and candles and spa treatments. It is about creating a system that allows other folks to rest, kind of like the people in the story who created a little microcosm of a place where each could get their needs met. She also mentions, and this is something I did not know about, and I really need to explore it more, the story of American Maroons. And I was not familiar with American Maroons, who were people who were enslaved, but who escaped and then created a space that was kind of like hiding in plain sight. They would find places like swamps or bogs or places that were sort of naturally protected or caves, and they simply refused to be enslaved people. And they found ways to create entire communities that would not be detected by the larger culture. And they sort of made a way out of no way, as Tricia Hersey describes it, to live in freedom and dignity, refusing to be used as machines by the larger culture. And so she takes that also as her inspiration. And I want to open up the idea of rest. As I said, it's not just about naps, although certainly resting when we are tired, allowing ourselves to sleep when we're tired is a very important thing to do. But this is a list that I found on the internet by somebody, a blogger named Steph Barron Hall. I thought that this was a good starting point to think about rest in a larger sense. Certainly, as Tricia Hersey describes rest, it encompasses many more things than just taking naps. And it includes things like time away from our routines, right? A time away from expectations that are on us. Permission not to be helpful all the time. I think that's a good one. That's a good one for ministers too. Permission, sorry, I've got a little crick in my throat today. Permission to not always be serving others, right? Sometimes we just need time for ourselves. Something unproductive, as we say, unproductive. we don't rest. Again, it bears repeating. We don't rest so that we can be productive. We rest because it's our right to rest and because it makes us feel good. Connections to art and to nature, to beauty, to fresh air, to places that make our hearts sing, right? We all need those things as well. Some solitude to recharge. As someone who has a spouse who's a bit of a homebody, I often do not get time alone in my own house, and I miss that. Sometimes I feel it very strongly that I need time alone in my own space just to recharge my batteries. A break from responsibilities. Yes, we all need that. And not everyone has that. Not everyone is granted a vacation time from their work, right? We don't live in a society that says this is a human right. Stillness, just stillness and silence. To dwell and to be. And then safe space, right? Shelter, safe space, a place where we are welcome, loved, and cared for. So that's a list. That's a list. And I think the possibilities go on and on and on. And we can take that maybe as a starting point for a list that we create that's curated by our own selves, right? That we know is specific to us. And so I've made a few little things. I've jotted down a few little things that are specific to me, and I encourage you to do the same. So I have a mantra in my life that is, I say, I need pose and repose. Because I am a practitioner of yoga, and I find that if I don't do yoga for a while, if I get too busy and I just don't have time and I don't make time, I'm like a guitar that's out of tune. That's how my body feels. So I need that active, it's almost like active rest, right? It is active, it's activity, but it helps me to thrive. And so you may have an activity that helps you to thrive. Tricia Hersey talks about how when she was in graduate school, her best form of rest was a ballet class that she was taking because it was away from all the demands of her program and she loved it and it was active and she felt so good when she was there and afterwards. So you may have something like that as well. I also, because ministry is so involved with the head, right? I get into my head a lot. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of writing that, and also the heart, right? I do pastoral care for my congregants. And so I'm very involved emotionally in my work. But what I don't do is work with my hands. And I have discovered that I really need to do something with my hands, to make something, to do something where I'm resting my brain, I'm resting my heart, and I'm just working with my hands. And there's something so relaxing about that and so beautiful. And I've kind of rediscovered it recently. So this is a need of mine on a regular basis. I also need music. And I can't be in my church choir anymore because I'm serving the congregation. And so I need a choir that I can sing in that's away from the congregation. I need to make music on a regular basis. And then finally, I need time with people who don't know me as Reverend Christina. It's not that I want to not be a minister or run away from my ministry, because I'm always a minister. But I need a chance to just be Christina sometimes with people who either aren't UUs or who knew me before I became a minister. And that's a real need for me to kind of be in a different kind of relaxation with friends. So that's my little list of needs that I have that are just specific to Christina. And I wonder what your list would be like. And I wonder if there's any brave volunteers out there who would like to share with us something that would be on their list, their unique list to their unique body.
I need to always spend some time with my twin sister.
Okay.
If I go a week without it, I get a little antsy and I don't feel as connected to myself. So without my twin, I need that. So that's why on Saturdays, me and her spend the time together because, we have busy lives every week in school, work, anything else usually comes up. And without having that connection, it feels like I lost a part of myself.
That makes so much sense. And not being a twin, I never thought about that, but that's a special kind of like resting in each other's presence that I can imagine would just be so necessary to kind of recharge your batteries and give you that you always have that connection, right? But just to give you that special time together. Did everybody hear that? That she said that, spending time with her twin sister was just so important and making time for that, even though times get busy. And yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have a specific type of rest that you'd be willing to share? Uh-huh.
I am Courtney. I just want to share that I am a yoga instructor
Oh.
in body and Kenmore. So I do offer yin yoga on Thursdays. If you look you up, if you're looking for a deal, yin yoga is very slow. And then to add to the books, there's a book called Pause, Rest, Be, Stillness Practices for Courage in Times of Change by Olivia Raheem. And it goes along with the nap ministry. It's practices you don't feel comfortable doing yoga at home, in a studio. You can read that book. So anyway, just wanted to share that offering. So as a mom, gotta rest.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the book recommendation too.
I'm an engineer, and I always believe in being a lazy engineer. I'm trying to do the least amount of work to get done what I need to do without going overboard. And it's kind of like what I try to do with a lot of things, but then other times I feel like yesterday I had a conversation with someone about the Monsanto and the chemical industry and chemical accepting. And then I went out and worked really hard with my hands, because I work with my head a lot just because of my career and whatnot. And it was intense, hour and 15 minutes or so. But sometimes I think that the intensity of doing something where you're totally away from everything is extremely important. And then I've been a yoga practitioner for at least 10 years now. And I always say my best days start with yoga. And then like yesterday I went and I just came back from vacation and I'm trying to get back into it. And after 15 minutes I said, this is all I want to do. And I gave my permission to say, okay, I'm going to walk away from it. And I did, So I think the whole thing is really, for me, is listening to your body. Where are you? And it's okay to be bored. Being bored, a lot of studies have been done. When you're bored, that's when you do your most creative thinking because you're forcing your brain to fill in the space. And a lot of times you come up with really creative ideas. So being away from a radio, turning off everything, just being out, riding a bicycle and saying, I'm going to do 20 miles, and after 10 miles, you're saying, oh my God, now I got to get back. And you're bored. That's when, just because of the energy or spending and everything, I find it can be very creative. So those are just a lot.
Absolutely.
Some of the things that have helped me a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
I still struggle with productivity.
Yes, we all struggle with productivity because we are in this system that values that over everything else. And so it's.
I come from a very large family and we're all very competitive. And, so it's ingrained in my background, just like you.
Yeah.
When the sun's up, you must be up.
Yeah.
So, just some things I want to share.
Thank you. Yeah. And so this is definitely a shift, right? This is a shift. It's a subversive message. It goes against the dominant messages of our culture. And so that leads right into kind of my last point, which thank you for what you shared, that that time and that space to dream, to be a little bit bored, to let your mind wander, to flow with whatever is happening for you in that moment, is actually a space of creativity and a space of visioning and a space of moving into a better future. So it's not that we do these things in order to produce a better future, right? But by giving ourselves leisure, Tricia says that we can imagine spaces and places that have the energy and the systems that help people thrive in. So this is really an important practice for her that she describes. And I have found it to be true in my life as well, that some of my best ideas and my best sermons and my best writing and thinking comes out of places of just empty space, right? Not, I'm going to find 20 books on this topic and I'm going to, learn everything there is to learn about this thing. And I'm going to devote 35 hours to this and it's going to be the best darn thing I've ever done. But when I allow myself some ease in the place and when I can get excited about the thing and just flow with whatever is going on with me, and there's a meeting between whatever's going on with me and whatever my topic is, and it becomes a special moment in my ministry. So I think that I'm still grasping for what her message is about that, but that this is the site of creativity, right? And she calls it the dream space. And she says that the dream space has been stolen from us as adults, as perhaps I could describe that moment in my childhood, right, where my mother took away my dream space. My mother took away my leisure. And I don't blame my mother for that. My mother's leisure was also taken from her, probably going back many, many generations. And it's just something that I need to recover, and that we all as adults can work on recovering, right? So with all of that, I wish you a chance to recover from the jolt of springing forward with daylight savings time. I wish you some good ease in your day. I wish you ease in your week, and I wish you a chance to think about all these things and make your own list about what kinds of rest you need. And then when you get those kinds of rest, when you're able to make that for yourself, I hope that you'll turn around and you will make a space for others to rest as well. And that we together keep on creating communities that welcome all bodies, all people, all spirits, and that create safety and love and welcoming. That's our vision. May we continue to work towards it. Thank you so much. And I believe we are now going to sing a song that I feel embodies that vision so beautifully. It's from the Buddhist tradition, number 1031 in your teal hymnal, Filled with Loving Kindness, one of my favorites. In the words of Tricia Hersey, may we unravel from our urgency. May we continue to divest from capitalism and systems that seek to use our bodies as machines of production. May we lay down somewhere today and relax. May we wrap rest and care around ourselves like a warm blanket. For ease is our birthright.